In today's competitive global market, one needs to have comprehensive real-life entrepreneurial knowledge, skills to increase clientele base, exposure to online business activities, and ability to plan and write workable business plans. Grow your business to unprecedented heights. For these and other interesting growth management related solutions, watch Small to Large Enterprise TV right here on this channel.
In this second segment, we're dealing still with systems thinking. And of course, the second case. That's an alien restaurant, an alien charitable restaurant that only serves Ghanaian dishes. And it's not doing well since recession hit it. Donor fatigue has crippled it. And we did earlier indicate that there are 7 significant points when we're dealing with systems thinking. One of it is that errors or mistakes are learning points for growth. So it being alien is not a major worry, but it is the source of growth. Secondly, we need to understand that units are important. We need to identify what the units are. And thirdly, the units, when combined, become structures. Fourthly, no one unit is more intelligent than the whole. I keep emphasizing that. No one unit is more intelligent than the whole. Then, of course, all structures are in a certain stratum or strata. Of course, with the second case, we've entered a medium-scale enterprise, so situation becomes a lot more complex. Of course, we cannot ignore assessment and benchmarking. So with the second aspect, when using systems thinking, we would be looking at what are some of the advantages of systems thinking.
In today's competitive global market, one needs to have comprehensive real-life entrepreneurial knowledge, skills to increase clientele base, exposure to online business activities, and ability to plan and write workable business plans. Grow your business to unprecedented heights. For these and other interesting growth management related solutions, watch Small to Large Enterprise TV right here on this channel.
If ever we use systems thinking, what do we benefit? One, the organization can understand the dynamics because it has formed a team. The dynamics of work, the dynamics at play. Two, they can resolve most of their problems, if not all of their problems, using systems thinking. Because you break the whole issue down to units and you can identify which is malfunctioning and why it is malfunctioning and why not fix it, because you understand the whole concept from the unit base. All right. Then, of course, it will achieve organizational goal with systems thinking. Of course, if you use systems thinking in your organization, medium scale or small scale or large scale, you are likely to increase return on investment. You gain from economies of scale because you become global. Hitherto in a butchery, it was a one-person butchery. And of course, in this restaurant business, it's also a small city, outskirts city 7 restaurant. But events will take a different turn when we go through the theoretical understanding. Of course, it would increase clientele base, improve sales, it will go global. The high tendency or the propensity of attaining competitive advantage is also equally high. So the second case, systems thinking approach embraces the butchery in the case of food. And so the restaurant also is in the food industry. However, the restaurant is a charitable one. Let's take note. The butchery was for profit, but the restaurant is charitable, not for profit. So what are some of the thoughts? The same underlying principle that we used earlier in systems thinking, the units, the structures, and of course the linkages is what we're going to use. They have the same characteristics. We have to break the core services, and then the auxiliary services, and then operate on internal environment, then countrywide environment or regional environment, then global environment. Those are issues that we need to understand. What would be the critical success factor? That is equally important. The critical success factor here for the alien restaurant, one, is because they have donor fatigue. There's donor fatigue. Their funding sources have dried up. Most especially for developing economies, the funding sources are from the Western world, Western Europe or the US, or of recent, the China, Brazil, India. Those are emerging economies. That's where some of our funding are coming from, or most of the funding is coming from. If that be the case, with donor fatigue in place, what does the alien restaurant need to do? It needs to identify, one, its core services, two, its auxiliary services. Then, of course, which strategy will it use as a critical success factor? It would have to look at what? Forward integration, backward integration, maybe horizontal integration, and of course, looking at diversification, be it related or non-related diversification, to increase clientele base, serve wider public, get raw materials, and this is the scheme that it needs to use. For those who have just joined us, please get the first presentation, which is the segment 1, so you understand the principles, the underlying principles of systems thinking. The logic here has to be in a certain chronological order, and it's this simple. One, that we establish the quality or the performance. Then two, cost, time, and the people involved in a Lock's triangle. That will make the internal environment. Then, of course, we're looking at what? The auxiliary. They have a delivery end. The restaurant is likely to have a delivery end. Why? Because it may not be only a sit-in restaurant. It could be a takeaway restaurant. So they need a delivery end. What if a customer wants the food in his home or her home without moving to the restaurant? It needs a delivery end. So it needs to do forward integration. What forward integration here means is that the restaurant, the hitherto alien restaurant, needs to arrange with a transportation end that will pick the food or the orders to the customer. Be it mobilettes, motorcycles that are used for internal delivery, be it courier service for external delivery, all must be identified and a certain arrangement must be established. We have countless of some of these examples in the global market. In the West, it is quite common. Pepsi and PepsiCo and Pepsi distributing, Pepsi bottling and distribution, they have this forward integration arrangement. Then, of course, we're looking at backward integration. Because the restaurant has a storage facility, it needs to open it up to the public. Businesses can come and store their wares in there with them. Or even just as they store their own supplies, they need to look at supply from the backward end, the raw material providers. If the raw material providers work just in time, on quality basis, they can supply for storage. And so the hitherto storage that was only internally directed, or internally operated, now can serve the external public. And of course, use backward integration to ensure that supplies are met on regular and timely basis, based on quality. The other part is unrelated diversification, using supply chain. And then, of course, using the food preparation, you could look at related diversification. For those who want more, would have to read a little more. Hitherto, the alien restaurant is going to change completely, going to open up. It's going to open up. Having identified its role, the core services and auxiliary services, and using these strategies, diversification strategies, and of course integration strategies, it can become vibrant again. It will come with new products. It will serve larger clientele base. It would also serve off-site clients. Related diversification could offer to present varying raw and semi-finished products directly through its retail chains. The related diversification is such that the restaurant was a restaurant before, but it can still operate the restaurant and then have retail chains in various physical locations, such that people can just walk in and buy raw materials or semi-finished products. Why? Because they have a backward integration with the suppliers who can give them raw materials, be it food, dairy products, meat products. And at the same time, they can serve their prepared meals, finished meals in those ends, those retail chains. Those retail chains can become strategic business units, SBUs. So medium-scale enterprises must start thinking of operating on strategic business units, such that each strategic business unit can be thinking of being profitable, or for a charitable institution, for thinking of breaking even. This would garner what we call synergy for the restaurant. Employees working in the restaurant can as well work in the retail chain because they have good subject knowledge. And so synergy is built, teamwork is encouraged. Unrelated diversification, more often than not, we don't seem to enjoy it, but it tends to be a lot more important. In this particular case of the restaurant, what about going for unrelated diversification where the restaurant arranges with a winery where they produce wine, and anyone who buys a certain quantity of food or a certain amount of food at a certain price gets a bottle of wine, be it PET bottle of wine or a large bottle of wine, because food goes with wine. And then for those who don't take alcohol, what about entering with a soft drink provider? If you're becoming a lot more environmentally conscious or health conscious, what about fruit drinks? Could be added to the food. That could be an unrelated diversification that needs to be looked at. All these concepts have expanded the alien restaurant, giving it more opportunity than it earlier on thought. So being a consultant to this alien restaurant, you could use strategies as integration strategies, diversification strategies, just to open up and make it more vibrant. It would definitely, if that is done, definitely lead to expansion. Job creation. Any economy that does not create job doesn't meet its goal. Achieving economies of scale in terms of pricing, producing more, the unit price will come down. That's economies of scale. Going global is what we should be thinking about for developing economies. Just as emerging economy like China, China has gone global. The market in China itself alone is 1.5 billion. After producing for 1.5 billion people, they produce for the rest of the world. So the unit cost on each product is lower. So when a Chinese product enters your country, it is able to compete price-wise using economies of scale. And so the alien restaurant could also be looking at that. Increase markup. That is profit. Gaining from synergy and leading to competitive advantage. Those are some of the advantages that systems thinking can give to second case. On that note, let me recap again.
In today's competitive global market, one needs to have comprehensive real-life entrepreneurial knowledge, skills to increase clientele base, exposure to online business activities, and ability to plan and write workable business plans. Grow your business to unprecedented heights. For these and other interesting growth management related solutions, watch Small to Large Enterprise TV right here on this channel.
Systems thinking is hinged on 7 significant points. And the factors at play are the units, the structures, and the linkages that makes the systems. All right. In the case of the third circumstance, the third scenario, which is a monopolistic state organization, or state utility provider that is faced with competition that has been approved by legislation of the territory that it is operating in. One of the important things it needs to do is to brainstorm or group think, meeting together and brainstorming using opportunity and threat metrics, identifying all the threats that there are with it is likely to experience. List all of them, rank them, put them in weighting, look at the total, and identify what are the risks. Convert all the risk or all the threats into opportunities. Opportunities into your strength, and that is the goal. Because you are entering a competitive environment, you need to prepare. All state monopolistic organizations always struggle with trying to accept private participation in terms of competition, and that is one thing that we cannot stop. It could have been stopped in the 70s, but not in this millennial era. Not at all in 2014. Information must be made public. The rate at which they charge every service must be made public. It must not be ambiguous. It must not be relative. Ambiguity must be avoided. Relativity must be avoided. It must be clear and simple, short, simple, and sweet. And that is what we always encourage when it comes to competition and information. Information must be open. Energy service providers, be it electricity, water, gas, fossil energy, once they enter competition, the system will open up. And they need to prepare. Hitherto, because they are state-owned, they always take subvention from government. And so being profitable doesn't matter. But this time around, they would have to operate on that line because they are faced with competition. Another approach they could use is identifying the core services and using each department in the core services as the unit where they operate on strategic business units. Say, generation of energy. Engineering, also another strategic business unit. Storage is another strategic business unit. Transportation is another strategic business unit. Delivery is another strategic business unit. And research and development is also another strategic unit. If that is not done, each strategic unit is supposed to work and be profitable. If not, they would sink. They will be wiped out by competition. Competition would what? Reduce the unit price of the services they provide. And so they need to be cautious of it. Each strategic business unit needs to be evolved around all these departments that it has identified as its core services. That way, it is likely to compete because each strategic business unit is supposed to be profitable and not necessarily be dependent on government subvention. We are in an environmental age where research and development is supposed to drive most of the events. Because it's non-renewable, most of the energy we have is non-renewable, we need to be thinking about research and development and setting research as the direction into the future for large corporations, especially utility organizations. On that note, I would encourage that all organizations, be it small, medium, or large, should employ consultants that will take them through systems thinking. Identifying the units, structures, the interplay, the linkages, and making sure that no one unit is more important than the whole. It's paramount, and that will drive all organizations from its low end to a high end using the trajectory path, and that is what we expect of almost all developing economy organizations, such that employment will be created and will reduce unemployment inevitably, creating more jobs, and that direction is what we all need. Thank you.
In today's competitive global market, one needs to have comprehensive real-life entrepreneurial knowledge, skills to increase clientele base, exposure to online business activities, and ability to plan and write workable business plans. Grow your business to unprecedented heights. For these and other interesting growth management related solutions, watch Small to Large Enterprise TV right here on this channel.